ここまでやるとはな、川木。
お前も7代目と同じところへ送ってやるよ。
I'll send you where I sent the seventh. These words have haunted fans of the series for over 7 years, and with the reveal of this place being Kawaki's timeless dimension, it does instill some semblance of hope. The hope that Naruto will be rescued someday, and likely with the help of Boruto. Now with that being said, it then begs the question of how. How will Boruto rescue Naruto from a dimension he can't access? Well, the answer to that actually was revealed in chapter 4 of Boruto Two Blue Vortex, which is when Boruto teleported to the Ten Tails dimension using Flying Thunder God. You see, this was all done for a specific reason. Kishimoto doesn't just do stuff for the sake of doing stuff. There's always a deeper meaning behind what is said and what is being done. In this case, we have Boruto gaining the ability to use Flying Thunder God, which in its simplest form is just a space-time ninjutsu that allows the user to teleport from one location to another. Now, many would make the argument that Boruto didn't need this technique since he already has the space-time vortex with his Karma Seal and also displayed a similar ability using his Jogan. So giving Boruto another space-time ability seems a bit redundant. Now the argument itself does make perfect sense, but only if you are not seeing the bigger picture. You see, Flying Raijin or Flying Thunder God technically does have one thing over Boruto's other space-time abilities, which is that it gives Boruto the ability to enter the time-space of someone else. Now this isn't due to the ability operating differently through time and space, but more so due to how the ability is used. What I mean by this is that all the user of Flying Thunder God has to do is place the seal or marking for the technique on any solid surface, and they will be able to teleport to that location no matter the distance. By the way, when I say any solid surface, I mean any solid surface. So that would be the ground, trees, rocks, or even a person's skin. Now it does have other uses as well, which involves teleporting individuals to a marked location without you yourself needing to travel with them, along with being able to teleport entire attacks as seen when Minato teleported the Biju Bomb fired by the Nine Tails. Now there's another insane feat, which would be when Minato was able to teleport the entire Ninja Alliance during the war, and this was done by him connecting his chakra to Naruto, who had then given his chakra to the members of the Alliance. So as you can see, the ability itself is very useful. It isn't just a Uber that allows you to jump through dimensions, and yes, I'm looking at Sasuke. Now with that being said, the point of me mentioning this is to support what I'm about to say next, which is that similar to how Boruto used the seal he placed on the ornament held by the toe to track code to the Ten Tails dimension, he will do something similar to Kawaki, in the sense that he will either place the seal on Kawaki himself or one of Kawaki's cubes or rods. That way when Kawaki goes to his dimension or returns one of his cubes, Boruto will then use the seal placed on either one to access the dimension. Now as I mentioned in my video about Boruto being the strongest shinobi, Boruto seemingly pulled off the jutsu multiple times within the last few chapters. First when he instantly appeared stomping on Code's face, later when he teleported behind Code in chapter 3, and also when he teleported to the Ten Tails dimension in chapter 4. So not only is he able to teleport to different locations on the same earth, he's also able to teleport to different dimensions as long as a seal is present. Another thing to point out is that you don't need to use hand signs when using Flying Raijin to cover short distances. This was actually shown by the 4th Hokage multiple times throughout the original series. And this also rings true for Boruto since he was able to teleport without using hand signs when he did it to Code and also when he evaded the Ten Tails enemy. He only ever used hand signs when he needed to enter the dimension and also leave the dimension, despite him claiming to be less skilled in comparison to Minato. So as you can see, the means by which Boruto can access Kawaki's dimension is already there. The only issue would be the fact that Boruto would be frozen within that time space immediately upon entry. Well, at least that's what you're probably thinking right now. That's probably what you were thinking the entire time you were listening to this video, and for good reason. Now obviously I do have a counter for this, which would be the possibility that Boruto might be immune to the effects of Kawaki's time space due to Momoshiki's ability to freeze time. Now I've always been of the opinion that this ability was not an ability that Momoshiki could just use while he was alive, and I'm still of that opinion. However, based on what transpired later on in the manga that I think most people missed, this might be an ability that Boruto could extend to himself once he gains full control of Momoshiki's powers. To understand what I mean by this, we need to look at the Karma Seal from a different perspective. This isn't just an ordinary mark that just extracts an Otsutsuki's data into a vessel. In fact, this overpowered Shinjuku jutsu transcends death itself, in that this power allows Momoshiki to interact with Boruto from the spiritual realm, or in some way Momoshiki is able to somehow form a link between the physical realm and the spiritual realm for a short period of time. The first time this happened was when Momoshiki gave Boruto his karma seal, and as he himself pointed out, it appeared that time had stopped. Now this part is very interesting, but there's one thing we need to establish before we're able to proceed with this theory. That of course being the mystery of when exactly did Momoshiki give Boruto his karma seal. Now I personally blame the confusion around this specific topic mainly on the anime's depiction of this scene, because in the manga it's actually quite clear what happened. You see, if we go off the events of Ishiki's death in the manga, it's clear that the Otsutsuki can't implant karma post-death. The actual events of the manga dictates this to be the case, since Ishiki didn't implant a new karma on Kawaki after he died. The narrative also implies this to be the case since the entire goal of this arc was to ensure that Ishiki didn't get to implant his karma on Kawaki before dying, which obviously means that he can't do it after passing away. This makes perfect sense since, as stated by Momoshiki himself, in addition to being a receptacle for one's soul, a vessel also serves as its anchor to the world of the living. So this means that the Otsutsuki spirit can't exist in the spiritual realm absent of a vessel. So if an Otsutsuki dies without a vessel, their soul would face instant extinguishment, as it was the case for Ishiki. What this proves is that Momoshiki had to have implanted his karma seal in Boruto prior to being fully destroyed by that Rasengan. So Boruto being able to see and interact with Momoshiki was due to him already possessing Momoshiki's karma seal. It wasn't due to an ability of the Jogan, which isn't even present in the manga. Now that we've established that this is all taking place post Boruto getting his karma seal and not before, we can then deduce that the ability to stop time itself is more so linked to when Momoshiki interacts with Boruto through the presence of the karma seal, rather than it being an ability that he had the entire time but just never used. This part is actually very easy to justify since you just need to watch or read this fight versus Naruto and Sasuke to find multiple times in which the ability to freeze time would have been beneficial to Momoshiki. So him not using the ability in those situations implies that he just didn't have access to the ability at that time. In this case, it's more likely that this is a byproduct of Boruto interacting with Momoshiki from a different realm. This makes sense since Ada, who has the ability to see all events, said that somehow Momoshiki had a conversation with Boruto that she couldn't see directly with her Senringan. She then wonders if Boruto is able to communicate with Momoshiki on the spiritual realm. What this implies is that Ada knows that her Senringan isn't able to perceive events happening on the spiritual realm. So when you combine this with the fact that Ada is confirmed to be able to see events happening in other dimensions as she did with Code, this more so implies that Boruto isn't just interacting with Momoshiki in another dimension, he's doing it on another plane of existence altogether. So if you consider what Ada says about this being the spiritual realm which she's unable to perceive, then add what Momoshiki says about the karma serving as an anchor to the world of the living, we can then logically deduce that Momoshiki is in fact interacting with Boruto from the spiritual realm. Now that we've established this, let's look into how the power itself is depicted in the manga. The first time this happened, which is after Boruto gets his karma seal, it depicts the phenomenon using clouds and smoke moving across the panel. Boruto also points out that it appears that time has stopped and he's unable to move. The second time this happened was when Momoshiki tapped into his true essence form and collapsed due to the strain of Momoshiki's power. This is once again depicted using smoke moving across the screen and Boruto saying that time has stopped and he's unable to move. Now the third time this happened was when Boruto was resurrected by Momoshiki using the data within the karma seal. This is also once again depicted by smoke moving across the screen and time being frozen. The only difference here is that Boruto is no longer unable to move. In fact, post getting revived using Momoshiki's data, Boruto is no longer paralyzed when Momoshiki triggers this phenomenon. This was proven to be the case once again when Momoshiki triggered this ability after Boruto left his house to go meet Shikamaru. We see that Boruto was able to turn around and move his entire body, even though the smoke, which implies that time has stopped, is still on the panel. Not only that, Boruto is able to move from point A to point B while time is still frozen. What makes this interesting is that after the smoke goes away and Momoshiki fully leaves, Boruto is now in the new location he moved to while the phenomenon was in play. What this confirms is that this isn't just happening in Boruto's mind, since if it was, Boruto would still be at the door since that's where he was when the phenomenon first occurred. So to anyone who is not Boruto, it would be as if Boruto teleported to that location if they were there to perceive it. This is pretty insane since if Boruto is able to control this phenomenon by forcing forcibly summoning Momoshiki to the physical plane, he would be able to stop time mid-battle and still be able to move, thus inflicting damage on his opponents. Or maybe Boruto doesn't need to summon Momoshiki in order to use this ability. As I mentioned before, Momoshiki didn't have this ability before since he didn't use it in situations where the ability would have been very useful. I mean, he would have been able to freeze time and just fold everyone on the battlefield. So the more logical interpretation would be that the ability is just something accessible in its current form. What I mean by this is that the ability to freeze time is more so a mechanic of the Karma Seal itself. You see, it's already established that the Karma Seal is the same regardless of the Otsutsuki data stored within it. So that's why Boruto and Kawaki possesses the same abilities from Karma, even though their Otsutsukis are very different. And of course, I'm referring to the base abilities of the Karma Seal, not the abilities they gain from the Otsutsuki's dojutsu. In fact, the Karma Seal given to Jigen by Ishiki gave him the ability to absorb chakra, even though Ishiki himself doesn't have the ability to absorb chakra. This means that Karma can possess abilities not innate to the Otsutsuki who performed it. So in essence, this phenomenon could simply be a mechanic built into the Karma Seal itself that allows the Otsutsuki to interact with their vessel from the spiritual realm, or allow them to intervene in events to protect said vessel, as seen with Momoshiki. This likely never happened with Kawaki since Ishiki himself still existed on the physical plane within the brain of Jigen, and when he died he didn't have a vessel to anchor him to the world of the living. Now with that being said, I was initially skeptical about the idea of Boruto controlling this phenomenon and using it in battle, since it's only something the Otsutsuki is able to manipulate, not the vessel. Similar to how Momoshiki could use the Karma Seal's data to reconstruct Boruto's organs, but that's not something Boruto himself could accomplish. With that being said, due to the same event of Momoshiki reviving Boruto using the data from the Karma, I now believe that Boruto might be able to wield this power as his own. You see, as Boruto points out in the manga, he feels as if he can channel Momoshiki's power better now. We actually get to see this manifest in a form of Boruto now being able to move while time is frozen. He's now able to use Momoshiki's Byakugan to see into the future, and he's also able to communicate with Momoshiki telepathically. Hell, we even see Boruto now being able to see and interact with Momoshiki in the physical realm without needing to stop time. They've basically become one entity. There's also the fact that Boruto is now one with the Karma Seal itself. We can see that there's a clear difference with how the Karma Seal changes Boruto's DNA to Momoshiki's through the natural extraction of karma, as opposed to the black marking on his chest after Momoshiki forced it to repair that area of Boruto's body. That, along with the fact that Boruto is now 100% pure Otsutsuki, could allow him to manipulate karma in the same way Momoshiki did, which means using the karma's ability to stop time. Now, Sasuke being able to see what happened between Momoshiki and Boruto could simply just be the ability of the Rinnegan. We know that Sasuke was able to see Madara's limbo clones that also existed on another plane of existence, so the logic does track here as well. However, him being able to sense Momoshiki post losing the Rinnegan is a little tricky, but it still could be explained away by saying that Sasuke just possesses a small amount of that Rinnegan chakra or whatever, I don't know. So in essence, I believe that Boruto might be able to counter Kawaki's time-space's ability to stop time by activating his own ability to stop time. So it might clash and then cancel out or whatever, you know, some anime, you know, nonsense science or whatever. But it's also a possibility that the reason why Kawaki is able to move in that time space isn't only due to the fact that it's his time space, and also definitely not due to him having infinite speed. Oh man, like power scalers on Twitter, bro. Don't listen to them. Please, I'm begging you guys, do not listen to power scalers on Twitter, please. But in essence, what I'm trying to say is that the reason why Kawaki might have been immune to the effects of the dimension is due to him being Otsutsuki. It could be that similar to how the Otsutsukis have this natural immunity to the effects of omnipotence and also seem to be immune to the effects of genjutsu, there is precedent for it, so that would be the precedent. And then you can just say maybe they're also immune to the effects of time stop or the ability to stop time. That might be the case. So Boruto now being 100% Otsutsuki might just make him naturally immune to the effects. Now, that being said, I'm more so a fan of the original idea that they'll just cancel out the ability using Boruto's time stop and Kawaki's time stop ability. I think that's what's going to happen. And more so because it's kind of weird that Kawaki would want to send him to that dimension if him being Otsutsuki is the reason why he's immune. Obviously, Boruto would be able to move and also use his karma to escape from the dimension. So I don't think that makes sense. So either Kawaki doesn't know that that's the reason why he's immune, or it could be that he does know why he's immune and that's not the reason. So Boruto getting there would actually freeze Boruto in time. Hey guys, Future Kitamaki here. As you've probably realized, this is a re-upload, so I haven't been able to complete new content in a minute because I've been sick. So once that's done and dusted, I'll have new content for you guys, but I just want to let you guys know that I'm still here, and this is mainly for the YouTube algorithm, of course. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.